All right, so we're back here at the fire station. Captain, I appreciate the time again. We're getting to my favorite part of the story, and I haven't even heard it yet. So you schedule the phone interview with, or you schedule on the phone with Scott Frost and Trey and whoever else to come to your house on...
It was
after Thanksgiving?
It was right around Thanksgiving. I can't remember if it was before or after, to be honest with you.
That's okay.
But yeah, so they're just coming by at where 6:37 whatever, and ask, hey, you want dinner? And they're like, oh, I asked them for, like, no, we're already hooked up that way. And so one time Coach Rude did came, I cooked him some steaks, and he was like, well, I'm always up for that. But so they basically came, and we just hung out and talking about all sorts, my Nick's bad taste in music, and
Scott calls you himself. He says, me and a few coaches would like to come sometime in November.
It's just him and Coach Rude.
Yep. Okay, it's him and Rude. They come,
yep.
And then they. It's a what night?
It's probably like a Wednesday or Thursday night.
It's a school
night. Yep.
Okay. And whole family's there?
Yep. And so my oldest was up in college, but Nick and Andrea and I are all there, and it was just a very casual. It wasn't anything formal at all. It was just a real comfortable, casual conversation where again, Coach Rush sort of just reiterated his vision and how he would see it going, and he also, again, which I loved, he pointed out, he goes, hey, there's going to be some rough spots on the way, he goes, we had some kids transfer, there'll be some more, and he goes, we got a ways to go in the strength department, but we're getting there. And
so when he shows up, I want to just walk through this step by step. He walks in your door, you guys give him a tour of your house, like, did you sit right down? Like,
we just gave him a quick tour. I showed him a couple of my deer heads and a couple of pheasant mounts, and
you knew he was a hunter,
which I knew he'd like that, and I think we just did that, and he just sat down at the kitchen table and just had some waters or whatever, and then just chatted. It, like I said, it was very comfortable with both those guys. It wasn't there was nothing uneasy or forced about it at all, and of course, like I said, I'm a football junkie, so I loved hearing any football stories, and also especially this is just his vision for the program and what they saw going forward. It was awesome. It's great. Yeah.
So Nick's there the whole time.
Oh yeah.
Who cooked your order out?
No. We asked him, and they said they'd already eaten somewhere. So we just we had some chips and whatever out. I don't think hardly anyone had ate anything. So like I said, the time before Coach Wood, we had the whole dinner, which was great.
Sure.
Just shot the bull with him. But this one, it was just hanging around, and they talking about the schedule. I mean, I think a lot of people they understand those guys work hard, but I mean, it is crazy how even like this time of year, if they're not prepping for a game, they're recruiting. I mean, Those guys are going crazy hours all year round, but particularly in the fall. I mean, it's just nuts.
The only quiet times when they're driving.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and that's it. And even then, like Coach Rude is saying, if you're with Coach Frost, you have to have 2 extra phone chargers because his battery's always dying. You're supposed, you better bring an extra jacket because he's always leaving his somewhere.
Does he only have one phone?
I don't know. As far as I know, yeah. But
a lot of coaches nowadays, they don't want to. Yeah. Just too many to handle. They'd rather have more notifications than 2 cell phones. But when Pelini was here, Pelini famously had 3.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, some of the guys maybe still do. It's just I wonder how that works.
As far as I know, like I said, the times I tried to get a hold of him or text him about whatever, or same with Coach Rude, it was always the same number, and that was it. And so it was yeah.
So how's Nick feel at that time? He's verbally committed to him. They come all the way from Lincoln, but again, they come all the way to your house when you're already verbally committed. Now, in the old days, Tom Osborne has an in-home visit with a 4-star type of a kid in the state of Nebraska. That kid is not even thinking about going anywhere else after that home visit. So much different era.
Well,
how was it for Nick?
And Nick, and I knew this about him. I think he had heard me tell stories from way back in my coaching day. But once Nick had committed to him, that was it. He was all in. I mean, so from July, whatever it was, 25th, when he committed to Nebraska, he was done. He wasn't going to visit anywhere else. He wasn't going to talk to anyone else.
So in the fall of his senior year, he doesn't go on a college visit to Notre Dame. He had done all that previously.
He had done all that. Had done all that the previous year and a half, as far as unofficial. It had to be unofficial.
Unofficial.
So we went to, several places unofficially. Went to games at Minnesota, Iowa State unofficially, and a lot of other, Notre Dame was, Wisconsin, etc. Wisconsin game unofficially, and but got to spend a lot of time with their staffs and players too. And so by the time he made his decision, he wanted that senior year to be about winning a state championship for Burke. And once he committed, he was absolutely done. Now it's not always, like you said, it's a different world now. It's not always the case. You see kids decommitting all the time, and you see kids after they're committed taking official visits.
But even the financial side of, let's go take an official visit to the University of Hawaii.
Yes.
And just go visit the lost sandbars and the ocean and just go on the tour. How many official visits did he go on?
He just went on 2, Wisconsin, and then that fall after he committed, Nebraska really wanted him to come officially so he could spend the whole weekend and talk to other kids who were already committed. Jackson Hanna and Garrett and Garrett Nelson, etc. That guys who were already committed, but they really wanted them to bond officially, and which was great, nice. He had an awesome weekend, but so he only took 2 of his 5, and like I said, I would have loved. I told him I would have loved to have gone to Penn State to see a whiteout game, or Alabama, see Alabama Auburn or whatever. That would have been fun. But
for college football junkies, you want to go to the swamp. You want to go
absolutely.
You absolutely want to go see the Rose Bowl someday.
For sure.
You have those.
Yeah.
You're not twisting Nick's arm and be like, hey, let's just go to the top 4 bucket list schools that I want to see.
Right. I would have loved that, but I also got his point that he didn't want to take away one shred from winning a state title for Burke. He was super committed to that, and so he didn't want to have to leave right after a game or miss a game. There was no way in heck he was doing that. So he also he was very glad to be done with the process. I think for him it had gone on for a couple years, which is really a blessing, and he knew that, and he knew how lucky he was to have all these opportunities. But he was also, and he's the type of kid, when someone would text him, please call, he would call. He wouldn't just blow him off, and so. But it got to be a lot. It got to be, where he was so glad when it was done, and he knew he made the right decision, and so he had no desire to go anywhere.
So he sits down with Scott Frost.
Mm-hmm.
Scott Frost is still trying to get to know him.
Sure. Yep. Sure.
How'd that conversation go?
They would just talk about other things outside of football that he was interested in. Cool. They would talk about favorite NBA team. My oldest Andrew and Nick always argue who's better between Steph Curry and Russell Westbrook, and things like that. So just a lot of outside football, other sports that they're interested in, talk about that, or track athletes or whoever. So what he is interested in studying, which he still doesn't know, but just non-football things too. So that, which is really neat. Yeah, which is really neat.
Anything in particular you remember about how it ended, or any stories that Scott Frost told?
Well, as far as how it, I guess a couple funny ones when he actually committed. Coach Frost is pretty simple. He just texted me and said, "I'm so happy Nick's coming here." Same with Coach Rude. Garrett Nelson said that you'll probably hear him scream from Scotts Bluff. He said that. So he got Adrian Martinez sent him a video of a few of them were hanging around a pool that night. He committed about 8 o'clock on a July night, and a bunch of the players sent a video to him around the pool saying, "Hey, congrats, welcome to the family." So that was really neat. And so nothing in particular about that, other than how it's been what we thought it would be, as far as what they've said has been true. And he went there to go work hard. He had a setback with a shoulder injury, but they've been nothing but great about everything. And he's just looking to get in there and help. And I think it's even though it's been an up and down year, I think it's going to be on the right track.
Scott seems like such an amazing listener.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime I've seen him on TV doing not after a game, definitely not after the Minnesota game, but like if you ever hear his one-on-ones, he was just on the Big Red Wrap-Up, and so he just seems so personable. How was it listening versus talking? Was it about 50-50?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and he's very whereas I have a real loud voice, he's got almost a soft voice when he's one-on-one. You have to really he's not out there gesturing, screaming, and you can just tell when someone looks you in the eye that he actually is paying attention to what you're saying. He's listening to what you're saying, and it's at least, other than when he gives his first, like, hey, here's what I think is going to go on at Nebraska, or here's what I know is going to happen in Nebraska. After that, he probably listens more than he talks. And where some other coaches, it's a lot about me, and just selling you all the time.
Sure. And Scott, you got to believe Scott Frost could sell the program better than Harbaugh could sell Michigan, better than other alma maters that are out there, alma maters coaching, because he won a national title as a player.
Yeah.
He went through the transfer process, which right after he did that, it became kind of the norm to be okay to transfer, and so he has such a different profile now as a young head coach.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to do what he's doing. Landing the in-state recruits has been a really big feature now of the culture of not only the football team, but just Nebraska. The basketball team and the baseball team recently have gotten all these kids to at least talk to them. When even some, I don't know the basketball kid, but I mean the baseball surge is on a huge surge right now. Will Bolt's gotten a ton of really good kids to kind of buy into this overall culture that Nebraska's kind of changed. Did he talk about that at all?
He did, and we talked about that, some that he really believes and says, hey, it's work before work again. He believes in the Nebraska kids, and that's sort of the cornerstone that, it's ridiculous when previous coaches didn't really go after Harrison Phillips, didn't go after Noah Fant until 3 weeks before his signing date. Those kids are no-brainers. Mm-hmm. I mean, those kids are absolutely no-brainers, much less some of the other kids that went outside of state, that thrived at North Dakota State or South Dakota or wherever, that would have went here, if given the chance. And so he absolutely made a point. And I've had numerous coaches around the Metro that said, we never saw, any of the Nebraska staff at all, not assistants, not anyone, until Coach Frost. They hadn't been in the Metro for years. Coach Lamanji at Burke is like, no, we never had any contact with any Nebraska coaches, and now they're coming by all the time. Coach Petito, who's been at Miller North forever, the same thing.
And you've been involved now in that two sports, because Jackson was the same way. Jackson Withrow, very famous tennis player from Omaha, Texas A&M. He's on the tour now. Like with your relationship with him, Nebraska didn't do much.
No,
with him.
And they didn't. Then with Shiva or Stewart or Chris Chu.
There's been that kind of a trend for a while with a few sports. And it seems like all sports now have. If there is an in-state kid who could make your roster, you better have an in-home visit.
Absolutely, and you better really at least go after him. Like, Nebraska could not have gone after Xavier Watts harder. They really wanted. I know. I talked to him. I tried to help, and Nick did. They really went absolutely full guns blazing for Xavier. And they've done it for other Nebraska kids now too. So they feel wanted down in Lincoln. And the same with the walk-ons. They're recruiting walk-ons hard now, knowing that those kids have really helped out in the past and will help out in the future. And there's a lot of kids that really want to be part of that program and work their tails off. And he's like you said, he's been there, he's seen it, he's done it, he knows it works. And he wants to do it again. It's not reinventing the wheel; it's just using the wheel again. So.
And Nick's been through a few injuries over the last 2 years as well. How's that going?
Really well. He's feeling. I talk to him basically daily, and he said he feels great. He's put on some good weight, a little over 220, 225 now, and the shoulder feels 100%. He had a minor knee tweak last year in high school that healed itself, and that was basically a non-issue by January. By the time he went down to Lincoln, so. The knee's been nothing but fine, and the shoulder that he's had problems with a couple times, they finally did a complete surgery and really got that where it's strong now and feels good, and he's able to, hit, tackle, do everything with no problem. So he's feeling great.
So Scott, at the end of the conversation at your guys' house, how long? Is he there
He's
for an hour or two?
probably there for hour and a half, I'm guessing.
Something like that. Cool.
Yeah, yep.
So he talks to Nick a little bit. Nick at that time knew he was going to graduate this semester.
Yep.
And so that was the conversation of at the end of it, like, okay, we'll see you in January, but like it was also, what classes are you signing up for? How does that look? Was there an academic talk?
Yes, there was, and that they had already, of course, they are so on top of everything, and their support staff's on top of everything. They're